At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.
The school year is about to begin, and school officials are dealing with a growing trend: parents seeking vaccination exemptions for their children. We look into that issue in the cities. Parents of Iowa and Illinois children can apply for immunization exemptions for their school-age kids due to religious beliefs if they file the proper forms before the new school year. Otherwise, Illinois children must be immunized for such diseases as mumps, measles, diphtheria, pertussis, rubella, tetanus, and other diseases. And the same holds true in Iowa. Now, these requests for religious exemptions began to grow during the COVID pandemic. So where are we today? I was joined by two Scott County Health Department professionals, public health nurse Lorna Bim and family health coordinator Lydia Amissa Harris. Let's talk about immunization first, because this is the new school year. There are certain requirements for kindergartners, and let me get this right, 7th and 12th graders in the state of Iowa.
That's exactly right. So important to note, many parents have their students enrolled in preschool who went last year. They think that they're already set for kindergarten, but there are requirements for kindergarten that are not required for preschool. Hepatitis B, for example, is not required in preschool, and it is in kindergarten. So it's important that parents understand that there's all kinds of assistance, figuring out what's needed for school. Each school follows state requirements, so the state kind of dictates what each one needs. So for kindergarten, they have to have 5 different vaccines. The DTaP vaccine, which is a combination, it has diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis in it. They need to have their polio immunization, their MMR, which is their measles, mumps, rubella, their varicella, which is chickenpox, and then that hepatitis B is also important.
We did see, and you know where this is going, we did see during the COVID era and even before that, just a real anti-vax type of movement. Are you still kind of seeing that right now?
Not as much as what we did in the first. I mean, there are people who are still unsure about things, and we find that the more they become informed, the more that they learn that vaccines are safe and effective, then usually they're a little more comfortable receiving those. And COVID is not one of those that are required for school. There are certain vaccines that are required, but then there are certain vaccines that are just recommended to also protect health.
Well, and COVID is one of those that's recommended. What is kind of recommended?
So recommended vaccines would be like your COVID vaccine every year, and that's going to be kind of like a flu vaccine has been set up. We know that COVID variant changes from year to year, so they know that variant will also change in the COVID vaccine. So COVID would be recommended every year. Influenza vaccine for your flu would be recommended. They also recommend like hepatitis A. There's a HPV vaccine which helps with, it's called Gardasil, that's recommended. So there are certainly other vaccines that are also recommended but not actually required for school.
I think the HPV vaccine is very interesting. So tell me why that is one of those that's recommended.
That's recommended, Jim. That's a really good question. And that's a great vaccine to receive. Most parents are misinformed and think that there's other things related to that, but there's actually vaccine now that we know can prevent cancer. How amazing is that? And that is totally what HPV was introduced for. You can get those types of cancers in your mouth as well as other areas. So it's very protective against that.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
And I think sometimes people forget that.
Exactly.
How does it help? Because how does it help both boys and girls? I mean, why is it both? And we're talking about usually what, in the teenage years is a good time to get this shot?
Exactly. We know that as we're younger, we have a little bit better response to vaccines. When we get a little bit older, we don't respond as well. So that's the reason why they start those vaccines younger in those preteens.
So Lydia, we've got you here too. I don't want to not have you in this conversation because one of the things that, and I wanted to talk about it real quickly, Saturday, August 24th is a big day. It's Scott County Community Baby Shower at the Lincoln Center, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., 2 hours. You know it should be longer, you know it should, but I mean, how much can you squeeze into that period of time?
Yeah.
Tell me about the baby shower.
Okay, so the baby shower, it's of course a community baby shower. We're going to have raffles, some giveaways. We're also going to do some games with the community members. We also have a diaper giveaway as well. We're partnering with Heine Heroes, and so they also will be giving away diapers. We're just there to have really a good time, support the community, and of course our resources, which is really why we're doing this. We want to make sure that the community is informed about all the services and resources that are out there for pregnant women, birthing families, and so yeah, we're just really there to honestly have a good time. So.
And I do want to talk about that because I mean I think new parents, they always say if only you had written a book or if only you had more of a safety net as a new parent. But they have written the book and there are safety nets, and you are one of the safety nets.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you see in our community? I mean, what have you seen as the greatest need since you took over?
I feel like mental health support is a huge thing. There are a lot of the families that we work with sometimes don't have any familial support, don't even have any friends, and so you're adding pregnancy to all of that and needing support, needing help, just needing someone to be there, or maybe needing resources because maybe you don't have transportation or you might not have food, and then you also have other kids to worry about. So definitely the mental health support, breastfeeding support as well, and just honestly just really just everything.
Because as you kind of pointed out, I mean, it can be very isolating because as a new parent, you're so focused on the needs of this kid who's going to suck up all your free time and even the time that's not so free for you.
Yeah.
So tell me about that type of community support or that important social help that's offered.
Yes, so with our Healthy Pregnancy Program here at Scott County Health Department, we do a lot of course, the resources support and referrals, and so just making sure that families just are aware of all the resources that are in the community. And so we kind of hold their hand through pregnancy and even postpartum as well, and just help them navigate. So if they need food, okay, we'll see what food banks are open, we'll see what organizations can help them get some groceries to the house. If they need some home visiting, there are some great home visiting programs that are out there that we also refer to as well. If they need a doula is a non-medical birth support person that helps pregnant people during their pregnancy, of course during birth, and then postpartum. And so even getting referrals out for that and explaining what a doula is, we do that as well. And then we do tons of social assessments just to make sure they're doing okay, so that if we need to do referrals to maybe places like Vera French or any therapy or counseling, we can do that. And then of course we offer dental screenings as well. And so we have a great iSmile program. We have about 5 dental hygienists, and so they can do dental screenings and making sure that we're connecting people to dentists, any medical providers that they need, and even vision as well.
I think it's interesting you brought up doulas because you are a trained doula.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the certification and all that, so I mean, it's really a personal a thing to you. And tell me a little bit, because you kind of mentioned what a doula does, but why do you think it's so important?
A doula helps empower the birthing family to be able to advocate for themselves, and so and also provide the education about childbirth, about breastfeeding, and then it's just really that support that the family needs. And so I think about my birth. I'm not my birth, but the birth of my child, and that I had a doula. Even though I'm a doula, I still had a doula at the birth, and that was so impactful because I had someone who was, of course, empower me, but even in moments where I felt like I could not advocate for myself, my doula did, and talked to the doctors and the nurses for me, and just to make sure that I was being seen and heard. Our maternal mortality rates in the U.S. are very high, and so having a doula there who can help with that social, emotional aspect of birth is really impactful and can, help save lives. So.
And when we talk about immunizations for children, I mean, some families may not be able to afford them, but that's taken care of as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. The systems are set up so that really no one has to do without any services that they need, especially for school. There's a federally funded program called VFC, or Vaccines for Children. All your local health departments participate in that, and they make that free for individuals who don't have insurance or they're on Medicaid. Many of the private providers also participate in that program, so vaccines are accessible to pretty much anyone.
When we're talking about the vaccination rates, we were talking also about religious exemptions. In both Illinois and Iowa, you have to fill out a form before the school year begins, and then it has to be approved, so to speak. Tell me a little bit about the religious exemptions, because we've seen that used as a growing resource for some families since the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, and that's a good question, Jim. Under the state laws, exemptions are required. There are medical exemptions, which pediatricians will fill out for children with certain medical conditions. Children taking chemotherapy, for example. Vaccines would be contraindicated in certain situations. So a pediatrician may fill out a form for a medical exemption that says, hey, there may be certain vaccines or maybe all vaccines for a time frame, or maybe a whole time, for their period of time throughout school. The religious exemption is also allowed by law, and it is where a parent needs to sign to say, and they're attributing when they assign that is a sincere religious belief. And I will tell you that there's not very many religions that actually have vaccines that are contraindicated. So sometimes what we see is a parent that has a personal or philosophical perception on vaccines. And what happens, Jim, when they fill those out and they utilize those as a religious belief, it opens up, number one, their child to vaccine-related illnesses. It opens up the school, and then it opens up our community and our country. As you can see, for example, we've seen measles come back, almost eradicated, totally back now. We've had those in neighboring states. We've seen polio come back. There was a case of paralytic polio in New York, unfortunately, so somebody had to suffer and be paralyzed from polio, which, the vaccines we know are safe. And we know they're effective against those illnesses and diseases. So when parents use those religious exemptions, it just increases the possibility of those things coming back into our schools, into our communities. And we're seeing that firsthand.
When you request the exemptions, can they be denied? What is the process? Who says no?
So again, this comes down from the state. As Scott County, we follow the Iowa Health and Human Services, formerly known as the Iowa Department of Public Health. Religious exemptions are not challenged based on, there's many different varying religious beliefs, so they are actually not challenged. It's kind of left up to, everybody to say, this is my honest opinion. So, and again, it certifies right on it that they need to attribute that it's a sincere religious belief.
Well, and I think it is important that you pointed out that there are, you think of measles and polio as being eradicated, it's gone for good, but these are diseases and ailments that are never really fully gone.
Exactly. Chickenpox. Also chickenpox. We see, and we're seeing those. Pertussis, we know that pertussis, the vaccine wanes. So by the time they get to be about in junior high, the state of Iowa implemented the law and says in 7th grade, they should come in with their Tdap booster and as well as a meningitis vaccine. And then that meningitis, we know, by the time they get to high school. So now there's a requirement for 12th graders. They need to have that meningitis, and they should have a second one by the time they're entering 12th grade, which helps protect them when they get into the dorms and universities.
And we have heard of cases of meningitis in
Absolutely.
universities that have been ruinous for some people's lives.
And yes, meningitis is a very, very serious illness. It causes inflammation in the brain. It can be deadly for some, so it's very serious.
You did bring up, the exemptions for children that might be going through chemotherapy or might have some help me here.
Deficiency.
Thank you,
Yeah,
immunodeficiency.
Yeah. It's immunized,
Thank you, I appreciate
immunocompromised,
it.
yeah.
I was trying to sound smart and I didn't. I failed miserably. But you were talking about those kids, and so if you introduce children that are not vaccinated around those children, it puts them at a greater risk.
It puts them at a higher risk because, number one, they've got a medical condition now that's already putting, step one against them. They kind of rely on people around them to get vaccinated to keep those diseases kind of out at bay, those illnesses at bay. And when we don't all do our share to keep that out of our community, it puts those kids at special risk, at higher risk.
I also wanted to talk about another area of your specialty, and that is the lactation services that are offered at Scott County Health. A lot of times, I would think that becomes really an emotional issue for women, for new mothers, is that they're doing something wrong, or why is my baby not able to breastfeed? And let's start with the point of breastfeeding. It is critically important. We're talking about immunizations, but to get that early start for the infant's body to be protected.
Yes, so breastfeeding is important. It helps with brain development. It helps with gut health in the beginning when the baby is born. And so it also helps with bonding with mother and child as well. And so breastfeeding is important. We do offer a class. So it's me and our maternal health nurse, Tiffany Williams, and we do like a 1-hour class. It was breastfeeding basics, and we go over like latches and positioning, and just like kind of like the first support for new mothers, new parents who want to breastfeed, chest feed, and who want to create that bond with their baby. And so, like I said, we do the class virtually. We could do it in person. This can be one-on-one. We could do it with a group, and it's free for the community. So they can definitely call, schedule an appointment, or come in if any of us are in the office. We'll do a breastfeeding class with them.
Because I think we got to underline the fact that, first off, like you said, it's free. It's open to everybody, and for women who have newborns, there's no reason to go it alone.
Exactly.
And you're not weird. Problems, I'm not going to say that you've heard it all before, but there's issues that women have that it's easy to share and say, look, we got your back.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's one thing I really do like about the classes, because one, of course, you get to educate, but you also get to connect with the community, hear about the issues and problems that they're facing, and then figure out what's the best way to help them. And so that's what our class offers. And of course, when there are complicated issues that are beyond us, we definitely refer out to their doctor, to other certified lactation counselors who have special qualifications to be able to help new mothers. And so that is something that we do. We also make sure that we connect them to any support groups that are in the area. I believe Unity Point has a free support group. La Leche League has a support group. The Iowa Black Doula Collective has a virtual support called Liché that is culturally specific. And so there are groups and supports out there for new mothers, birthing families, and just want to make sure that they know that if they want to breastfeed, that they can breastfeed, and we will be there with them for that.
And it's really important, because we keep talking about the isolation that a woman can have, but for the family to come together or for the partner to be there is critically important in those early stages, and throughout life, but particularly in those early stages of a child's development.
Oh yeah, of course. I think about my pregnancy and how I really relied on the support of family and friends. And then even after I had the baby, I really relied on that support, especially with breastfeeding, because it was hard in the beginning. Because there was a point where even with having all the education and the knowledge, there were some points where I was just like, what am I doing wrong? And so, even having my family be there for me, also just cheering me on, making sure that I had all my needs and that everything was met so that I could just focus on breastfeeding, really impacted me. now I'm like 8 months in, still breastfeeding, still pumping and doing all the things because I had the support. So support is definitely important, and that's something that every family, every person should have. And if they don't, let's help us connect you with some support.
Well, and you had your baby in November, as you said, 8-month-old now.
Yes.
Aww.
That's my girl.
How has that changed you as far as how you treat other mothers? I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about how that gives you an added empathy or an added understanding.
Yes. I always knew that, first of all, breastfeeding can definitely be hard, but it doesn't have to be. But also experiencing it now, I know, okay, there are some tips and tricks that I use for myself that I can now share with anybody else who needs some help with breastfeeding. And even just with pregnancy, even with the birth, like just giving those, you know, oh, this is something that I experienced, but these are some things that can help you in those processes. Oh, these are some supports that I use. Why don't you try this as well? And so it's really allowed me to like have that lived experience so that I can be able to properly share all the stuff that I've been through, and even just the knowledge and education that I have about breastfeeding, pregnancy, or whatever to the community. So,
well, Lorna, one last area of children's health, and that's when they become young adults. And as you were saying, hepatitis is so big in college, but also we have to worry about STDs. And I know that there's been some comeback of some of the diseases like gonorrhea and syphilis in some areas where it's actually considered a public health hazard right now.
Absolutely. So, yes, sexually transmitted infections are a major concern of public health at this point. I think that through COVID, you know, a lot of people stopped visiting their doctors. You know, that wasn't the place to be when those sicknesses were predominantly in those offices, but that didn't stop the relations that were still going on behind the scenes. And so we've seen a rise in gonorrhea. We've seen a rise in, a little bit of a rise in chlamydia. Those rates kind of jumped up. And what we've really seen in particular, Jim, is a rise in syphilis nationwide. Syphilis is a very dangerous infection that can be transmitted through sexual contact.
And what is offered through Scott County?
So Scott County offers a lot of STI services. We can do HIV testing, hepatitis C testing. We can test for gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, all those things. We have the ability to diagnose those and treat all of those.
And once again, I mean, you're thinking that some of these, and I'm so used to saying STD, STI is sexually transmitted infections. It's the same thing but different,
Absolutely.
Of course. That's another area that, you know, in so many ways it was being damped down, and not so much anymore. Is that almost like a societal thing? Is that, oh, it can't happen to me because it's gone?
So that's a good question. I do believe that going forward, you know, there's just more information. We live in an information era. You know, people are being better educated about everything for their health, and that includes those STI areas.
We have just a moment left, so I want to say it again. Saturday, August 24th, the Scott County Community Baby Shower. Give me your best pitch.
Yay.
Y'all just come to the baby shower. Just come to the baby shower. We're going to have raffles. We're going to do some diaper giveaways. We're going to have some resources. We're going to do some awesome games, and we're going to be able to take pictures and have fun. And it just come out, y'all. It's not going to hurt. Just come out.
And Lincoln Center is such a great place to do it.
Absolutely, yes. And so we partnered with Scott County Kids, the Health Department, and the Lincoln Center. And then we have our sponsors, which are our managed care organizations, Iowa Total Care, Molina, and WellPoint. They will all be there along with Pregnancy Resources, Honey Heroes, and then other community organizations that have signed up for the baby shower.
Saturday, August 24th,
yes,
Scott County Community Baby Shower, Lincoln Center from 1 until 3.
Yes.
Our thanks to Scott County Public Health Nurse Lorna Bim and Family Health Coordinator Lydia Amissa Harris. She was known as Charlotte Boyer when she was a student at Rock Island High School, and later as a breakout artist featured on the NBC program The Voice. But now she goes by the name Charlotte Blue, a vocalist, musician, songwriter, and performer rooted in soul and blues music. Here's Charlotte from when she took to the stage of the Black Box Theater to perform one of her originals, Beginning to Feel the Blues.
When we were little kids, eating Lunchables watching The Incredibles, but there ain't no more lunchtime to be had. Juice box is always empty, and the playground is trash. And the playground is trash. Now I'm beginning to feel the blues. 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 Riding on skateboards along the parking lot, playing hide and seek till it got dark, dancing to the MJCD. But now my friends don't wanna jam with me. Now I'm beginning to feel the blues. 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 As people change and people run on, but still my life remains the same. People move and people grow up, but still my life will never change. I'm beginning to feel the blues. 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 'Cause things are not the same as they were before.
Charlotte Blue with Beginning to Feel the Blues, performed at the Black Box Theater in Moline. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future, that's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.